All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Naresh Mago and with me is Abhishek Mukhopadhyay. The headlines. Government formulates draft Defence Production and Export Promotion Policy 2020 to make India self-reliant in defence manufacturing. Recovery rate of COVID-19 patients reaches 65.77%. Preparations in full swing in Ayodhya for Bhumi Pujan for construction of Ram Temple. Relief and rescue operations intensified in flood-affected areas of Bihar, and members of Indian men's and women's hockey teams for Tokyo Olympics to join national camp in Bengaluru today. The Defence Ministry has formulated a draft Defence Production and Export Promotion Policy 2020, DPEPP 2020. The policy aims to provide impetus to self-reliance in defence manufacturing under the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme. The DPEP 2020 is envisaged as overarching guiding document of Defence Ministry to provide a focused, structured and significant thrust to defence production capabilities of the country for self-reliance and exports. A report.
Defence Production and Export Promotion Policy 2020 has marked out clear goals and objectives to be undertaken by the Defence Ministry. First and foremost amongst all is to achieve a turnover of 1,75,000 crore rupees, including an export of 35,000 crore rupees in the aerospace and defence goods and services by the year 2025. Developing a dynamic, robust and competitive defence industry, including aerospace and naval shipbuilding industry to cater to the needs of armed forces with quality products has also been clearly laid out in the new draft policy. The ministry has also laid emphasis on reducing dependence on imports and taking forward the Make in India initiatives through domestic designs. Efforts will be made to create an environment that encourages research and development, rewards innovation, creates Indian intellectual property ownership, and promotes a robust and self-reliant defence industry. Anand Chaturvedi, AIR News, Delhi.
The Defence Ministry has solicited comments on the draft DPEPP 2020 policy from all stakeholders latest by the 17th of August this year. The Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry has said a total of 11,86,203 people have recovered from coronavirus infection in the country so far. This takes the total recoveries to 11,86,203 and the recovery rate to 65.77% amongst COVID-19 patients. With improving daily recovery numbers, the gap between the recovered cases and the active cases has increased to more than 6 lakh. The actual active case load is over 5,79,000 and all are under medical supervision. In the past 24 hours, 40,574 recoveries were reported across the country. The Health Ministry said a total of 52,972 new cases of COVID-19 were reported in the country in one day, taking the total number of cases to 18,03,695. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 5,79,357. In a single day, 771 deaths were reported, taking the nationwide toll to 38,135.
India recorded the highest number of COVID sample tests yesterday. The remarkable feat has been accomplished by performing a record 6,61,715 COVID tests by various laboratories in the last 24 hours. This is the highest number of COVID tests conducted in the country in a single day so far. More than 2,08,64,000 tests have been conducted in the country till now. Our correspondent reports that starting from less than 100 tests per day, a multiple-fold increase in a few months was made possible by dedicated teams of research institutions, medical colleges, testing laboratories, ministries, airlines and postal services. Government has created robust health infrastructure for effective management of COVID-19 pandemic within a short span. In January this year, there was only one testing laboratory for COVID-19 in India. Now, 1,356 labs are engaged in testing the COVID samples across the country. Out of the total 917 are government labs, while 439 are private laboratories. The Health Ministry has issued fresh guidelines for international passengers arriving in India, which will be operational from the 8th of August. The guidelines state that before planning for travel, all travellers should submit self-declaration form on online portal newdelhiairport.in at least 72 hours before the scheduled travel. They should also give an undertaking on the portal that they would undergo mandatory quarantine for 14 days. This includes 7 days paid institution quarantine at their own cost, followed by 7 days isolation at home with self-monitoring of health. Home quarantine may be permitted for 14 days only for compelling reasons such as pregnancy, death in the family, or serious illness. Travellers may also seek exemption from institution quarantine by submitting a negative RT-PCR test report upon arrival. The test should have been conducted within 96 hours prior to undertaking the journey.
In the Union Territory of Chandigarh, 43 new cases were reported positive for COVID-19 from various sectors yesterday, and 8 COVID patients were discharged after recovery. Our correspondent reports that among the fresh cases, 1 case from Bapudham colony was found positive during rapid antigen test. With this, the number of cases testing positive so far has risen to 1,160. Out of them, 706 patients have cured and 19 patients have died so far. At present, 435 COVID patients are under treatment in Chandigarh. In Gujarat, 974 COVID-19 patients were discharged from various hospitals after recovery during the last 24 hours, as the recovery rate further improved to 73.53%. AIR correspondent reports that a total of 47,561 patients have recovered in the state till date. More in this report.
According to official sources, 1,009 new cases have been reported in the state yesterday. Total cases in the state have gone up to 64,684. Out of 14,614 active cases in the state, the conditions of 83 patients are serious and they are on ventilator support. 22 patients have lost their lives yesterday. More than 8,34,000 tests have been carried out till date. Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation has added 4 more areas in the micro-containment zone. Door-to-door surveillance and testing drive will be launched in these areas from today. AMC has also sealed city's Alpha Mall for violating the norms of social distancing. Yogesh Pandya, Air News, Ahmedabad.
In Chhattisgarh, the state government is making efforts to expand the treatment facilities in various districts as COVID infection cases are on the rise. A report from our correspondent.
Recently, the facility of RT-PCR test has also been started in medical colleges of Rajnandgaon, Bilaspur and Ambikapur. With this test facility is now available in 7 institutes of Chhattisgarh. So far, more than 3 lakh samples have been tested. Meanwhile, the State Health Department has started a pilot project in Raipur and Durg district for asymptomatic COVID-19 patients. Under this pilot project, asymptomatic COVID-19 patients will be allowed to undergo treatment in isolation at home while complying with certain guidelines. Vikalp Shukla, AIR News, Raipur.
In Madhya Pradesh, all efforts have been made to prevent spread of corona infection and for proper treatment of infected persons. Special emphasis has been laid on for timely identification, arrangement for quarantine and timely testing of corona suspects in the state. A report.
549 coronavirus patients were discharged from the hospitals yesterday, taking the number of recovered cases to 24,099. The state has come to the 15th position in terms of active cases and recovery rate. Fatality rates have improved and come down from 10.3% to 2.7%. The state's share in the number of active cases in the country amounts to only 1.6%. The testing capacity has been increased to 9,334 samples per million. At present, 22% of the total capacity of general beds and 29.9% ICU beds are being used for the treatment of corona patients. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
In Telangana, the state government has initiated action against private hospitals that are reportedly overcharging for treatment of COVID-19 patients. The decision has been notified last evening after holding an inquiry into multiple complaints about fleecing of patients. More from our correspondent.
The Telangana state government has fixed certain price ceilings for private hospitals for treating COVID-19 patients. As per these ceilings, the ICU room with ventilator should not be charged more than 9,000 rupees per day. However, there were many complaints from patients and their families that the private hospitals are exorbitantly charging for COVID treatment. After receiving complaints, the state public authorities have for the first time taken action against a private hospital by barring it to treat COVID patients further. Meanwhile, the state government has decided to lift the restrictions imposed on liquor shops in the wake of COVID-19 and allow them to open till 11 p.m. in Hyderabad and till 10 p.m. in the rest of the state. Lakshmi, AR News, Hyderabad.
In Assam, 2,371 new positive cases were detected in the last 24 hours. Health Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma said that a total of 41,958 tests were conducted in the past 24 hours. He said that highest 414 cases were reported in Kamrup Metro District, followed by 282 cases in Dibrugarh. There are 12,779 active cases in the state as of now, while over 32,000 persons have recovered so far.
For the first time in close to 2 months, Karnataka reported more recoveries than the fresh COVID-19 cases yesterday. In all, 4,776 COVID-19 patients cured and discharged from various hospitals in the state yesterday. This is the highest one-day discharge from the state. The total number of recovered patients have gone up to 62,500, more from a correspondent.
According to the State Health Department, 4,752 new COVID positive cases have been reported yesterday. Out of 74,469 active cases, 629 patients are in ICU, among them 330 from Bengaluru. 98 patients have lost their life yesterday. More than 17,46,000 swab samples were tested till date, out of which 27,989 tests have been carried out yesterday. The state recovery rate stands at 44.78%. And the mortality rate is 1.86%. R. Murthy, AR News, Bengaluru.
In Tamil Nadu, the total number of COVID-19 cases has surpassed 2,63,000, with 5,609 people confirmed positive yesterday. Meanwhile, migrant workers who left the state during the early stages of the lockdown have started coming back to work. A report from our correspondent.
Tens of thousands of migrant workers who return to their native villages are reportedly showing keen interest in returning back to work. Their local employers, like the small and medium-scale industrial units, are asked by the Chennai Corporation and the district collectors concerned to furnish the details of those who are being brought back. E-passes are being issued to them after the employers establish a satisfactory arrangement for their stay close to the workplace. The Corporation Commissioner Prakash told reporters yesterday passes ranging from 500 to 1,000 per day have been issued since the last 3 days. Observers say it indicates the industrial activities gradually picking up momentum. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
Participating in the AIR Live phone-in program on COVID-19, Dr. Prasoon Chatterjee, Associate Professor, Department of Geriatrics at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, has appealed to people that they should wear their masks properly and not to contaminate the mask by touching the outer layer from time to time.
मैं हाथ जोड़ के अपील करूंगा कि मास्क को आप प्रॉपर तरीके से पहनिए, सेंटर में मास्क में हाथ ना लगाए। आप देखेंगे मास्क पहने भी है तो नाक की जगह पे बार बार हाथ लगा रहे, उससे मास्क को कंटेमिनेट कर रहे हो। हम मास्क को हाथ से लेके नीचे कर देते हैं, हम मास्क को खोल के टेबल में रख देते हैं। मास्क आपको प्रोटेक्ट कर रहा है, तो मास्क को आप एक ही बार पहनिए, एक ही बार खोलिए। घर जाके मास्क को खोल के अगर वॉशेबल मास्क है उसको आप तुरंत डालिए एक वॉश करने के लिए, और अगर ये वॉशेबल नहीं है, यूज एंड थ्रो है, तो उसको तुरंत आप घर जाके बिन में डालिए।
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Government formulates draft defence production and export promotion policy 2020 to make India self-reliant in defence manufacturing. Recovery rate of COVID-19 patients reaches 65.77%. Preparations in full swing in Ayodhya for Bhumi Pujan for construction of Ram Temple. Relief and rescue operations intensified in flood-affected areas of Bihar. And members of the Indian men's and the women's hockey teams for Tokyo Olympics to join national camp in Bengaluru today. And for quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
In Ayodhya, on the second day of the 3-day-long rituals preceding Bhumi Pujan for construction of Ram Temple, a special 6-hour-long special Ram Raja Anushthan will be performed today. The Bhumi Pujan function will take place tomorrow, in which Prime Minister Narendra Modi will take part. Along with him, many religious heads and saints from all over the country and from Nepal are expected to take part in the function. Over 135 saints belonging to 135 spiritual traditions will be present in the program. Some eminent citizens of Ayodhya have also been invited by the Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust. Meanwhile, Ayodhya is already in the festive mood and is eagerly waiting for the historic moment. A report.
Many religious activities, including Ram Kirtan and reciting of Ramcharitmanas, have already started in Ayodhya. Ghats of holy Saryu River are beautifully decorated. The city is all set to witness the historic Bhumi Pujan ceremony tomorrow, in which Prime Minister Narendra Modi will take part. Prime Minister will first have darshan at Sri Hanuman Garhi Mandir, after which he will perform puja of Bhagwan Sri Ram Lala at Sri Ram Janmabhoomi. General Secretary of Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust, Champat Rai, said that apart from the 175 invitees for the ceremony, Mahesh Bhagchandaka and Pawan Singhal from family of late Ashok Singhal, former president of Vishwa Hindu Parishad, will be Mukhya Yajman in Bhumi Pujan ceremony. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
Talking to AIR, people from Ayodhya have expressed happiness on the construction of Ram Temple. Let's listen to what they have to say.
हम लोग 5 तारीख को दिया भी जलाएंगे और ये पूजा पाठ भी होगी और राम मंदिर के इतने वर्षों के बाद अयोध्या वाले इतनी खुश हैं कि इतना हर एक चीज का चमत्कारी भी बहुत सुंदर अयोध्या की भी।
इतने सालों से ये फैसला लटका हुआ था राम मंदिर का, अब भगवान जी राम जी का भव्य मंदिर बनने जा रहा है। इसके लिए पूरे देशवासी, पूरे अयोध्या वासी सारे खुश हैं। पूरा वर्ल्ड लेवल का ये सिटी बनने जा रहा है। इससे बड़ी खुशी और क्या हो सकती है।
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Srinagar District Administration has clamped a curfew in the Srinagar city in view of specific inputs about violent protests tomorrow on the first anniversary of the revocation of Jammu and Kashmir's special status under Article 370. Srinagar District Magistrate Shahid Iqbal Chaudhry said in an order that the curfew comes into force with immediate effect and shall remain in effect till tomorrow. The district magistrate further said that the senior superintendent of police has received a series of inputs suggesting that separatist and Pakistan-sponsored groups are planning to observe the 5th of August as Black Day, and violent action or protests are not ruled out, and there are also specific inputs about violent protests endangering public life and property. Mr. Chaudhry said any mass gathering would also be detrimental to efforts related to the containment of COVID-19. He said that the SSP report further suggests that in view of restrictions aimed at COVID-19 containment already in place, the movement and assembly of people has been prohibited. Meanwhile, the restrictions previously ordered on account of COVID-19 shall continue thereafter till the 8th of August unless revised earlier.
In the run-up to the 74th Independence Day celebrations, we bring you today a special story about rural development. The government has been pursuing big goals in terms of rural development and particularly employment generation in the rural areas of the country. The main objective has been to reduce poverty and make villages self-sustainable. In 2016, Prime Minister launched Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin with an aim to ensure house for every Indian by 2022. Ministry of Rural Development along with Niti Aayog prepared a vision document in which a broad plan to eradicate poverty was chalked out. Several schemes including Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Livelihood Mission, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, MG Narega and skill development programs including others have either been revamped or started afresh to provide necessary assistance to every village dweller. Interministerial efforts have also been initiated with agriculture, animal husbandry, food and public distribution, skill development, Jal Shakti, finance and MSME ministries to develop avenues of sustainable employment and establish robust supply chain for farm produce. Talking to AIR News, Niti Aayog member Professor Ramesh Chand highlighted the key developments and policies of the government in the last 6 years. He said the government has laid special emphasis on rural employment generation for livelihood sustainability. Reiterating Prime Minister's view, Professor Chand said the skill development centers in the rural India have enabled people to become job givers rather than job seekers.
Government took up several steps for transformation of rural economy, transformation of agriculture economy. So if I have to count the flagship kind of things for rural area, I would say that the biggest scheme has been Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, was the first, I would say, flagship program. Then this Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana. So this government decided that all habitation with a population of 250 or above will be connected by a black charcoal road.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, there had been enormous developmental activities that were carried out by the government in the last 5 to 6 years. Several new road links were either constructed or widened under various centrally sponsored schemes for the benefit of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. A significant number of flyovers on the Jammu-Srinagar National Highway were also completed, resulting in reduction of the road length between the two capital cities. Details from a Srinagar correspondent.
With the concerted efforts of the Srinagar District Administration, the long-pending flyover project between Jahangir Chowk and Rambagh in Srinagar was completed and thrown open for the public. The administration had been at the forefront of their efforts to speed up the construction of the flyover project. Some 60 slabs were laid within 3 months only, which was quite unprecedented as far as the construction of any flyover project is concerned. The 2.4 kilometers long flyover with 6 access ramps at Jahangir Chowk, Gogjibagh, Aluchibagh, Rambagh, Natipura and Barazula has reduced the travel time between Jahangir Chowk and Rambagh from about 45 minutes to about 2.5 minutes only. The work on Jammu-Akhnur 4-laning project besides Chennai-Sud Mahadev Road link in Jammu has also been taken up expeditiously by the government. Sunil Kohl, AIR News, Srinagar.
In an exclusive interview to AIR News, Jammu and Kashmir Industry and Commerce Department Secretary Manoj Dwivedi said that the region is expected to get investments of around 10 to 15,000 crores in the next few years.
जम्मू कश्मीर जो है वहाँ पर रिसोर्सेज की कोई कमी नहीं है, जिसकी वजह से हर तरीके से आर्थिक रूप से आत्मनिर्भर होने की क्षमता है जम्मू कश्मीर। सबसे प्रमुख जो इसमें होगा वो ये है कि हम ये जानते हैं कि जम्मू कश्मीर में प्राइवेट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जो है और जो इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन है वो बहुत छोटे स्तर पे है। तो उद्योग आए, निवेश करें और उससे रोजगार, वो खाली सरकारी नौकरी की तरफ लोग ना जाएं बल्कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर में भी रोजगार की अपॉर्चुनिटीज आए। इसके लिए जो प्रोविजंस क्रिएट किए जा रहे हैं, जो भारत सरकार से मदद की जा रही है और अलग तरीके की योजनाएं जो बनाई जा रही हैं वो बड़ी लाभदायक साबित होंगी।
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistani troops initiated unprovoked and indiscriminate firing with small arms and heavy mortar shelling along the line of control in Krishna Ghati sector of District Poonch early this morning. The alert Indian Army troops guarding the fence are retaliating befittingly with equal caliber. The exchange of fire continued till reports last came in. There are no reports of damage to any property and loss of any life from the Indian side so far. Further details are awaited.
In Bihar, flood situation has further deteriorated following breaching of embankments in Darbhanga and Muzaffarpur. Flood water is now entering in low-lying urban areas of these two districts. The swirling water of Gandak, Buri Gandak and Bagmati is also inundating fresh areas of affected districts. Over 56 lakh people of 14 districts spread over 1,082 panchayats are reeling under the impact of flood. Flood situation is grim in Samastipur, Madhubani, Sitamarhi and East Champaran. 23 people have lost their lives in flood-related incidents during the last 24 hours in affected areas of the state. Rail traffic remains suspended on Darbhanga, Samastipur section of East Central Railway following overtopping of railway track. Vehicular traffic has been disrupted in many places in flood-affected areas. Relief and rescue operations have been intensified. 31 teams of NDRF and SDRF have been pressed into service. Over 4 lakh people have been evacuated so far and 20,000 people are taking shelter in relief camps. In Maharashtra, incessant rains have been lashing Mumbai, parts of suburbs neighbouring Thane district and other coastal areas of the state since last night. The Meteorological Department has forecast torrential to very heavy rains in these areas today and tomorrow. More from a correspondent.
The Mumbai Municipal Commissioner has directed the divisional officers to remain alert in the week of warning of heavy rains in Mumbai city and suburbs. 3 units of the National Disaster Response Team have been instructed to remain alert for immediate help. The Indian Coast Guard and Navy have also been alerted. BEST and Adani Energy has been directed to keep all substations on high alert. Coordinating officers of Police, Fire Brigade, Traffic Police, BEST, Education Department and Health Department have been directed to be present in the main control room. Instructions have been given to make arrangements for temporary evacuation of citizens. The municipal administration has instructed the education officials to keep the municipal schools open for immediate help, which have been identified as temporary shelters in 24 departments of the corporation. Madhuri Pange, AIR News, Mumbai.
Now let us take a look at today's weather update. Beginning with the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the minimum temperature in Jammu was 27 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 35 degrees Celsius. The city will have a partly cloudy sky. In Srinagar, the minimum temperature was 19, while the maximum will be around 32. The city will have a partly cloudy sky, becoming generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening or night. Ladakh will have a mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. The temperatures will hover between 15 and 30 degrees Celsius. In Gilgit, the temperature will hover between 16 and 34 degrees Celsius. It will experience a partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain or thunderstorm or dust storm. In Muzaffarabad, there will be a partly cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. The minimum temperature was 22, while the maximum will be around 37. Chandigarh will have a generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. In Dehradun, the temperature will hover between 24 and 33 degrees Celsius. The city may have a thunderstorm with rain. In Hyderabad, the minimum temperature was 24 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 33. Generally cloudy sky with moderate rain is expected in Bhopal. Guwahati will have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of development of thunder lightning. Members of Indian men's and women's hockey teams bound for Tokyo Olympics will join the national camp at National Centre of Excellence NCOE in Bengaluru today. The decision was taken by Sports Authority of India SAI after formal permission was received from the state government to begin training in Bengaluru. The athletes, coaches and support staff who were on a home break will join the camp and undergo the mandatory 14-day quarantine inside the campus. Considering the rising number of COVID-19 cases in Bengaluru, the permission from the state government has been given, subject to all arriving athletes, coaches and support staff adhering to the institutional quarantine protocols issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Health and Government of Karnataka. United States President Donald Trump has signed an executive order that bars federal government agencies from displacing American nationals and citizens with foreign workers. It also calls for prohibiting American employers from using H-1B workers to displace Americans in outsourcing contracts. Indians have been the largest beneficiaries of the H-1B visa program. The White House, in a statement, said the order will create a policy where federal agencies will focus on United States labor in lucrative federal contracts, as it will be unfair for federal government agencies to replace perfectly qualified Americans with workers from other countries.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Rituals begin as Ayodhya counts down to August 5th, writes Hindustan Times. It says that Iqbal Ansari, son of the oldest litigant in the Ram Janmabhoomi title suit, is to attend the foundation laying ceremony of the Ram temple tomorrow. Hopeful of COVID-19 vaccine by year-end, ICMR chief says Business Standard. DCGI allows trial of Oxford vaccine on 1,600 Indians, writes the Pioneer. The Tribune reports China obdurate Doval-led panel to chart out course. TikTok purchase Microsoft tries to salvage deal, appease US President, says Financial Express. Cut gratuity period from 5 years to 1 year, Parliamentary Committee on Labour, writes The Hindu. And finally, the Times of India reports that in a first, Delhi police used a facial recognition system to track down and arrest 3 criminals within hours of the dodging a police team.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Government formulates draft Defence Production and Export Promotion Policy 2020 to make India self-reliant in defence manufacturing. Recovery rate of COVID-19 patients reaches 65.77%. Preparations in full swing in Ayodhya for Bhumi Pujan for construction of Ram Temple. Relief and rescue operations intensified in flood-affected areas of Bihar, and members of Indian men's and women's hockey teams for Tokyo Olympics to join national camp in Bengaluru today. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.